On the 23rd of January 2022, I went on an adventure I've never ever been on before. For the first time in my life, it was time to create a Minecraft hardcore world. Which means if I die, I lose everything. Every project, every building, all my dreams will be all gone. After playing normal survival for many years, I thought it was time to give myself a real challenge. And I have to say, guys, it's been a real blast. We're going to build mega base, big farms, and conquer the game like never before. So here I am, and I present to you my first 500 days in Minecraft Hardcore. And a new day has dawned, and here we are, at our spawn point. And lucky me, I actually spawned right next to a village. And I started off my morning by looking around and grabbed some stuff to eat, which would be bread the first couple of days until we had time to do something better, you know. And I looted the chests in the village, grabbed a bed for sleeping. And then I did what all other Minecrafters always do the first day. I grabbed some wood for some basic tools, or yeah, actually just a pickaxe to mine some stone. And then the wooden pickaxe actually did its job, and now I mine the rest of the stone to create a full set of stone tools. And then it was time to head out on some adventures in the rain. And with the new update, I knew that iron was really good to find in the top of the mountains. So I headed up on a big mountain right next to spawn point. I was checking out the snow, checking out the new goats, and find a lot of iron. And after mining for a bit, I was ready to create my first set of iron armor and iron tools and head on to the next chapter. Then I headed back to spawn and created a couple of chests to store some of the stuff I had been picking up on my small adventures around spawn. Then I headed to the nearby spruce forest and I started to chop down a lot of wood for building blocks and other stuff. And something I felt was really important from the get-go was to have a really good food source, so it was time to create a cow farm, because I think steak is one of the best food sources in the game. And there we go. The advancement, the parrots and the bats, and a couple of more breedings, and we will have a lot of steaks, so we don't have to worry about dying from hunger. And we also got our first visitors, but we'll leave those alone for now because we are not ready. I took a look around where I live and I found a dripstone cave, but same there, we will stay out of there for now. I started to mine copper because I got some huge plan for the base, and copper will be a really important part of that base. I started to dig down and look at that. We have a huge copper vein right under our spawn point and right under our base. Now, we will not mine that yet because we want to have a fortune pickaxe before we do that, so I continued down to diamond level because I wanted to have diamonds early, because diamond armor, you know, that's priority number one to protect myself. And after a couple of minutes of mining, I found my first diamond. And yeah, it was only one. And I have to say, mining deep slate with iron pickaxe, it's not particularly fun. It is so slow and I almost found no diamonds. Look at all that way and only one diamond. So I headed up again and decided to do something else for a while. So I created myself a boat and thought that, well, let's explore this world a little bit. Maybe find some shipwrecks and other stuff to collect some items and loot, and also found this jungle, collected some bamboo and just enjoy the views of the new terrain. And after a while I found my first shipwreck. The loot was okay. I found a moss block, which is really cool, and a couple of iron ingots, an emerald and some iron nuggets, you know, good to have stuff. But I headed back to my boat and went into a abandoned mine shaft in the mesa, and this was where I experienced my first little scare. So I just ran out again, ate some food and then went back to loot the chests in the spawner. Then I bred my cows again to collect my first pieces of steak, and this was so nice, so I didn't have to eat my cooked potatoes anymore. Now it was time for some real food. And then it was time for the second farm of this series, the really complicated and complex sugarcane farm. Then again I went down to the mines in my quest to find more diamonds, and this is such a hassle, but I did realize that maybe caving is a better way when I don't have a fast pickaxe. So I started to explore, said hello to my first creeper, made him die as a boss, you know. Find some lapis lazuli and found this huge cave, which I tried to light up as good as I can because the mob was flowing down from the roofs. But here I find a couple of diamonds and enough to make myself some tools and some armor, in fact. And after creating my first diamond pickaxe, it was time to get some levels to enchant this bad boy. So I headed down to the Nether for the first time. And here we are. A really good spawn in this kind of a ravine or a crater or what you want to call it. And the purpose for this Nether visit was just to mine some quartz for levels. So I came up to 30 levels so I could enchant. But I took the time to look around and see what we had around, and it was pretty much a big lava lake, just so nothing much. So I headed back and started to try to get some enchantments. And here we go, let's see. Unbreaking 3. Well, that was a fail. So it was just to head back to the Nether, get up to levels 30 again, and I did some more exploring to just see if we had some cool biomes in nearby, and we had a basalt deltas, and we also had a crimson forest nearby. So I think we are really good to go. The only biome that I didn't have really nearby was the Soul Sand Valley, but that biome was not far away either. And look at that. Now we have a Fortune 3 pickaxe, so now we can really start mining ores and other stuff for real this time. And I felt I needed a little better way to get down to my mine, and this was really scary to do, but it all went okay. So I created these bubble columns to get up and down from the mine easy, because until now I've had just towered up with dirt every time I went up, so that wasn't really fun. So this was a lot better. And up to the surface we go in our brand new bubble elevator. Yeah, that felt good. And now that we have a Fortune 3 pickaxe, we can go down to the mine for reals and try to collect as many diamonds as we can. And after a while, we made it. We had enough diamonds to create full diamond armor. And look at us. We look awesome. And now we were really ready to take on this Minecraft hardcore world for real. I also created the remaining diamond tools. And then I took the deep slate that I had mined and started the first part of our mega base. Now this mega base will be huge, and it will almost entirely be made out of deep slate, copper, mostly oxidized copper, and also some prismarine, so it will be black and light blue. And the inspiration I have for this base in the future will be the Mordor Tower of the Lord of the Rings series. But before we do anything else, I thought it was time to beat the Ender Dragon, because I wanted an elytra and shulker boxes and all that kind of stuff, because the base will be really tall, and to build that stuff without an elytra, that just wouldn't be fun, you know. So I located this nether fortress, started to kill some withers, though I didn't get any skulls this time, but we will get to that later. Then I located a blaze spawner and collected a couple of blaze rods for my Eye of Ender, and it was time to find the stronghold. So I started my journey towards the Ender Dragon, and it didn't take long before I found an exposed stronghold. Look at that, so easy. I went into the stronghold and closed off because there was about to be night, so we don't want any mobs falling down on us. And I went in and was greeted by a skeleton and a creeper, which I of course killed like the pro gamer I am. And it was time to start my search for the portal room so I can enter the end and defeat the dragon. It took a little while, but finally I managed to find the portal, and I went in, took away the silverfish spawner, and then it was time to enter the end. And I had a heart attack. Fortunately it was just a glitch, and I finally spawned on the obsidian platform. There we go. For the first time in my life, I defeated the Ender Dragon in Minecraft Hardcore. And after defeating the dragon, I went out to the End Island and had the most amazing spawn with a ship just a couple of 100 blocks away. So I went to the ship, went down, killed a shulker, and grabbed my first elytra and a couple of swords. Then I took my rockets and I flew away, and I looted a couple of more end cities for items, loot, and shulker boxes. Then I went back and used my levels to enchant my gear to really good stuff. We were ready to do some really cool projects in this world. We were all kitted up, we had all the tools we need, good armor and everything. So here we go. So I started off the next chapter by starting to mine out the big copper ore vein right under the base. And I have to say I was really impressed on how much copper I managed to get out of this. I don't really have the numbers, but you will see on screen how many raw copper blocks we have. It was almost half a chest of raw copper blocks, which is almost a couple of double chests of raw copper. Then I put all the copper in my unbelievably complex super smelter here. Then I went back to the Nether, took some bone meal, created a carrot farm so I can start trade for some emeralds, because I would really like to have an unbreaking and mending book for my elytra. And this was where it all began. And I kid you not, I think I broke that table 150 times before I managed to get the books I wanted. Then I went out to the desert and killed creepers for gunpowder, because we don't have a mob farm yet and I was almost killed. Then I headed back to my base and continued the building a little bit, added these what you could say enterings into the base, added some lightning rods for decoration so mobs couldn't get in, created a real nice pattern on the floor, and the first part of the base was really taking shape. And after creating a second floor, I thought it was time to give myself a little better storage, a little bigger and better. Now we will of course create a kind of an automatic storage in the future, but for now this will do. And then I just continued with the deep slate building and towering up, and I want to remind you that this is the entrance part of our base, so this is really the smallest part. Took out some friends in the building and continued to tower up with deep slate. But now it was really time to get things going. So I collected a lot of items to build a mob farm, just a couple of 100 blocks from the base. So I towered up 128 blocks to stop spawn on the ground. Then I created this mob farm that is actually inspired from the mob farm Ilmango and the Psycraft guys built on their 4x4 chunk challenge, I think it was. Basically it's just 2x2 platforms, so you don't have to worry about spiders clogging up the drop chute and stuff. And I use leaves on the sides to increase the mob spawning. And I decided to go with this design because I wanted to see how it works, and it worked really good. And I was also tired of building the same mob farms in all my world. You know, that platform with dispenser and water. I was just tired of it. I want to try something new, and this farm is amazing. Yeah, as you can see, it works pretty good. Now the reason they are all stuck there is because I haven't opened up the drop chute yet. But that's what it's time to do right now. And here you can see the mob start falling down. And for now we just have a little platform. But I went on and I built a little room and an automatic storage system to storage all the different items that we get from the farm. Then it was time to collect my first couple of ancient debris so I could at least make a netherite pickaxe, because I was using them up while mining the deep slate pretty fast. And I also found a couple of slimes that start spawning in this huge area where we have dug out the deep slate. Then it was time to continue the building of the base. I started to make these towers on the edges of the main room. And it's starting to take some shape, but it's far from done. And then it was time to move on to the next farm, which I thought it was time to build a villager breeder. And this is a very classical setup with the farmlands where you have two villagers sharing the, I think we went with carrots, and then we made a drop where the kids or babies were dropped down when they tried to pathfind to the beds. And I, of course, decorated it with some more deep slate and some more coppers. And then it was time to move the villagers into the farm. And all these villagers came from the original village at spawn. And this farm works really good. And then I started to design a big tower that was around or enclosing the farm. And we will also make a similar tower on the other side of the base, which will contain some other stuff. But then I went ahead and I created a little collection system for the villagers and also a pickup system with mine carts. And then I realized that mining deep slate was not going to work, so with the new mob farm with all the creepers and gunpowder we could make TNT, and I figured out this was by far the best way to collect a lot of deep slate very fast. And with all the new deep slate I wanted a little break from the farms and stuff, so I decided to map out the big part of the base, which is the base circle underground, which will lead to be a really big tower. Here you can see half of the circle, and this was kind of a hassle because I had to redo it I think 2 or 3 times because I messed up the shape. But after a while I managed to pull it off, and then I just started to place a lot of deep slate around it. But anyways, now it was time to do the second tower. As you can see here, the right one is the villager farm, and the left one is going to contain a netherwort farm and also a couple of brewing villagers where I can also brew some potions and also trade for all the trades the brewing villager has. And now it was time to move our first couple of new bred villagers into the other tower. So we start off with the brewing villagers. And I didn't spend much time on decorating or making the place look super awesome. This first episode is more about getting the basics up, basic farms, so we have a good foundation to stay on. And we will come back later and decorate more stuff, make stuff look more pretty. But this is a basic setup, so we have a couple of droppers that will contain the ingredients for all the potions we want to do, and then we have, I think, 7 or so brewing stands, and I think this isn't an automatic setup. We might do that later if we feel the need to, because I believe we're going to use potions a lot in this series. But anyways, underneath the brewing villagers, I decided to make the Nether Wart farm. And this is kind of a big farm. I don't think it's too overkill, but it looks pretty cool and it's really easy to use. So it's just 2 layers of soul sand where we will have water flowing down and flush out the nether warts we are growing, and then we'll drop down into a couple of hoppers, into a couple of chests, and that's pretty much what it is. Really easy to build, but works like a charm. And with this farm I actually took my time and decorated so we have something in the world that actually looks cool. And now it was time to get a beacon, because I really wanted the haste, because I was really tired of digging out big areas without the haste effect. So we went to the Soul Sand Valley fortress. I think it's not all in the Soul Sand Valley, but part of it. And I just created this platform so we could temporarily farm some withers. We will probably build a better wither skeleton farm in the future, but this worked pretty good now in the beginning. Not the best choice to have that little platform with holes over me, because the magma cubes were falling down and almost killed me one time. But this worked pretty good, and I managed to get, I think, 9 or 12 skulls so we could make like 4 beacons. And regarding the wither, I decided I'm going to fight the wither for real the first time, and then we can cheese it in the rest of the series just to get beacons. But before we fight the wither, I decided to also make 2 iron farms, and this is a design from Shulkercraft, I think. So we made 2 of these on either side of the pathway leading up to the big part of the base. And this iron farm, I think, works really good with the amount of iron I need. And I had a little trouble with this zombie to get him down, but after a while I managed to do so. But now it is time to fight the wither in hardcore. Something I never ever done before. I have fight the wither for real in a normal survival world, and I didn't die, but it sure as hell didn't go smooth, so I was really nervous. So I literally over prepared for it. Look at all those potions I had, and I decided to go with a Smite 5 sword and fireworks rocket actually, because I think it works a little better than the bow and arrow, because the fireworks go straight ahead and they actually deal a lot of damage. But here we go, it's time to fight the wither. And just like that, we have defeated the Wither in Minecraft Hardcore, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I guess it's a pretty good idea to come into the fight well prepared. And it went like a charm, so I'm really proud over that, and from now on we can cheese the Wither in the end, as many people do to get beacons, but we will save this first Nether Star for a trophy. And now when we have a beacon, it was time to dig out a huge area underground to make room for some much needed farms. The first farm we are going to make is a big sugarcane farm, so we will have a lot of sugarcanes for paper, for rockets, and a couple of other stuff as well, sugar for speed potions and all that kind of stuff. And this is the basic sugarcane farm that most of us build, just a lot of them with the pistons that will harvest it automatically down into hoppers, and this can run while we are working on our base and stuff. And I don't remember how many of these we did, but I think a couple of 4 or so times, so about 8 of these farms, and believe me, it was enough. And after finishing the sugarcane farm, it was time to get our emerald game on for real this time. So I decided to create 2 really big pumpkin and melon farms for trading with the villagers for emeralds. And this is also a very basic setup. You've probably seen it before. It's with the pistons harvesting the melons and the pumpkins, and then pick them up by hopper minecars underneath. And that's about it. And when all that was done, it was time to get some villagers from the villager breeder down to our melon and pumpkin farm and set up a little trading hall. I think we went with about 16 villagers for now, which will be more than enough for some future. And another farm I really wanted to get up and running early in this world was a gold farm. So I decided to collect some magma blocks and breed some turtles for some turtle eggs. Then I did this ladder and ender pearl trick to get up to the nether roof. And this is where we are going to build our gold farm. And this is also a very standard design. We have magma blocks to just spawn or almost just spawn zombified piglins. We started off by creating an automatic storage system to get rid of all the rotten flesh this farm produces, and then we did this huge array of hoppers, so there will be no backup of all the items it will collect. And there we have it, the brand new gold farm, and up here we have the AFK spot. And another resource or another block we will have to have a lot of is basalt, because we are going to change the blocks on all the surrounding environment around the base to make it look run down, dark and stony. It will probably be a mixture of basalt, black stone, soul sand, well, every block that looks dark and gritty. So while we are AFKing in the gold farm, we are going to also AFK in this basalt farm, and a little scared there, but we managed to get out of that lava pretty easy. So as I said, we have this basalt farm here that we can just stand and mine basalt while we are AFKing at the gold farm. We have 3 more things to do before the 500 days mark, and one of these are by far the thing I was most worried about, and that was to conquer a Bastion Remnant. This is something I've done a lot of times in regular vanilla, and I have died every single time from piglin brutes, so I was really worried about this. But I decided to take it extremely cautious and mine myself on the outside around the bastion to try to kill as many of the piglin brutes I could. And after a while I got to the middle of the bastion, I collected the loot, and then I almost killed myself with a pearl right there. What if I had get right into the lava and then shoot myself straight up in the wall? I don't really know what I was doing, but it was some scares and I panicked, but everything worked well in the end, so I guess I managed to do it pretty good after all. And on to the next mission, and this is something I've never ever done before, not even in regular vanilla. It was time to conquer a Woodland Mansion, to specifically get my hands on some totem of undying. And this went well in the beginning, but it really quickly got out of hand. But we started to kill all the Vindicators from the outside safely, and there we killed our first evoker and got our hands on our first totem. Now I felt a little more safe. But there we have another evoker, and for some reason I triggered a lot of evokers from places I couldn't see, and it kind of pretty fast went south with all the Vexes coming out. You will see in a bit. I was outside and fighting Vexes for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so before I got rid of all of them. You will see here in a bit where we are outside and there are just Vexes everywhere. And I don't know how many evokers you normally get in the Woodland Mansions, but I feel like I got pretty lucky, because I think I got like 6 or 7 totem of undying from this mansion alone, so that would probably be good for a while, but in the future we will probably build some kind of raid farm as well. And there it was done. and now it was time to burn this place down. And there it was, the Woodland Mansion burned down, destroyed and conquered. Now there was only one thing left to do before we hit the 500-day mark, and that was to raid a lot of ocean monuments, specifically to get a lot of sponges, because I have some big plans to make a guardian farm and drain stuff, specifically drain the ocean monuments. And I think I went around to about 7 monuments, I think, and managed to get around 3 or 4 stacks of sponges, which should be more than enough to have a good experience with draining oceans and other stuff. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching this first episode of my Minecraft hardcore series. We have laid down the foundation with some basic farms, and in the next episode we can continue our journey. See you then, and again, thank you for watching.